A $4.1 million a year HVAC selling tech is giving us behind the scenes look at his playbook. If you have ever wondered, how do these guys do it? You definitely don't want to miss this one. In this episode, Zack Reynolds, a field tech in Las Vegas, Nevada, walks us through his exact in-home sales process. This isn't theory, this is what he does every single day. How he spends the first 30 to 45 minutes building trust without ever talking replacement. How he uses pictures and education to let the homeowner reach the conclusion themselves. And how he price conditions through stories and not pressure. If you're a technician who wants bigger tickets without feeling salesy, or an owner trying to build repeatable production in the field, the next few minutes are going to be the best investment of your year. Zach, last year in 2025, you did $4.1 million as an HVAC technician selling down in Las Vegas, correct?
Yes, sir.
Cool. What would you tell somebody that is looking at getting into the trades or starting as a technician right now? What is the number one thing that they need to avoid to get to that level?
Definitely talking about any sort of replacement or pricing within the first 30, 45 minutes of the call.
30, 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow. So break that down. So you're coming in. Are you typically doing service work, maintenance work? What are you doing?
Maintenance, majority-based maintenances. Run some demand calls here and there, but majority of our visits are our annual memberships that we have.
So someone's coming in, they're paying a annual membership. So for you guys do that fairly cheap, right? It's
yes, sir.
Like $99 or something
for the year. Yep.
And what does a customer get for that $99?
They get a cooling visit, a heating visit, and a plumbing visit. So
okay.
Cooling maintenance, heating maintenance, and then plumbers will come flush the water heater, do a multi-point inspection throughout the home.
Are you guys dealing with much heating issues down in Vegas? I mean,
No, we had a cold spell for about a week and a half.
Yeah. Mostly cooling.
Yeah.
So someone's paying that. You're coming in for the cooling visit. And you're coming in, and they're expecting you to be there, right? Mm-hmm. That's scheduled on their calendar or mm-hmm. whatnot. And what does the interaction look like? So you said 30 to 45 minutes. Break that down for us.
So when I get to a call, I set my cones out. I'll grab my tool bag, and I'll walk to the front door. I knock on the door. I try to step back at least 6 feet from the front door so I don't feel like I'm imposing on them.
You're driving a company van.
I try to park it within sight of the front door, so when they see me, we send a picture of the technician with the dispatch to the homeowner so they can see, hey, this is Zach. I'm getting Zach, and then this is obviously Zach at my door.
Yep.
After I get there, make introductions. I'm a people person. I'm a talker, so I want to talk to people, get to know them. I try to crack some jokes here and there. I talk about, I kind of rule of thumb is within the first 5-10 minutes, I don't want to talk about air conditioning too much.
For sure. Build that rapport.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once I've established that, then I kind of give them a rundown of what my visit will consist of. Walking them through everything I'm going to be doing that day, what they can expect during my visit.
Hey guys, it's Chris. If you're finding value in what you're hearing, go ahead and like and subscribe. That way people just like you can find this content for free here on YouTube. Now let's dive back in the show. Which is what? So, you're coming in for maintenance. So, I'm assuming their hope isn't that, hey, this guy's going to sell me this big package, right? And so how do you help manage those expectations by walking, hey, I'm going to be doing this. What are they expecting that you're going to do?
So I get there, introduce myself, obviously, we chit chat, and I'm like, so I'm here to do your cooling maintenance. I'm going to start at the thermostat. I'll turn it on cooling from the thermostat. I'll get temp splits throughout the home from the return to the supply.
And you're typically doing this how long before the cooling season?
We usually start rolling out cooling maintenances around March.
Yeah. And it starts getting hot in Vegas when?
Good Lord willing, April for business. But, usually April, May, you expect to get triple digits.
So you guys are coming in advance. You're like, hey, I'm going to go. So you go to the thermostat, you run the cooling, and then.
So once I check temp splits, then I'll go outside to the condenser, pull the disconnect. And the reason I do that, the thermostat is on. So it's calling for cooling. So when I do put the disconnect back in to check inrush amps on the compressor, I'm able to get an accurate reading.
And how are you keeping the customer involved in this experience? Are you wanting them just to like continue doing what they're doing, or are you hoping that they will follow along and see what you're doing? What's the customer interaction look like?
Best case, and obviously you have the homeowners that they just want to see what you're doing, and I'm big on education throughout the process, so I don't mind it at all.
Do you prefer it when they're tagging along?
Depending on the personality type of the homeowner, I'm a talker, but also I like to work. But, occasionally you'll get the guy that just wants to chit-chat about whatever, and, most of the time it's the older customers, and maybe they're lonely or whatever, the wife's passed. So
sure.
I just try to be a human, like I'm there to do my job, and I try to maintain a level of professionalism, but at the same time I also want them to know that I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like you do.
Yeah, got it. So you go out to the condenser, and what are you doing at the condenser to be able to add value to them?
So I'm like, do you mind showing me where the condenser is? So while I do that, they're following me out to the condenser. I'll pull the disconnect, and that'll stop the fan motor, so it allows them to see down in the condenser. And most of the time, they'll sit there with me for a couple minutes. I don't know if they're just uncertain about what to do. At which point, I'll grab my impact and open the fan shroud up, and that way we can look down in it. And majority of the time, it's going to be filled with leaves, dirt, pine needles, whatever the case may be.
At that point, are you wanting to show that to the customer?
Yeah, and I'll explain to them, again, kind of retapping on what I explained initially. I'm going to grab my vacuum. I'm going to vacuum all of this stuff out, and I'm going to make it look like brand new. And, usually at that point, they're like, all right, well, I'm going to go back in. Most of the time it's kind of warm outside. They don't want to be out there with you.
Right.
So, yeah, once I've kind of set the ground rules about what my visit will consist of and get they allow them to get a good understanding or a viewpoint of what the before looks like, it kind of gives me a standard to go off of or them to kind of reflect on when I show them the after of my maintenance visit.
Got it. So that is the whole kit and caboodle of what the maintenance looks like.
Initially, yes. So once I obviously do all my tests on it, I clean it out really well. I spend a lot of time on my maintenances. I'm very meticulous when it comes to cleaning it up. So I'll vacuum it out really well. Then I hose the coils out from the inside out, and then the outside in. And then, of course, there's a big remainder left in the pan. And then I get my leaf blower and blow it out and kind of try to dry it out as best as possible and get a picture of after as well. For me, it's all about transparency and being honest and doing a good job and being of service. So that way they're able to see that, like, hey, I'm getting what I paid for, and this guy cares.
Yeah. Yeah. So you go and do that, and that usually is taking you 30 to 45 minutes during that time.
Yeah.
So when you say you need to avoid the discussion around price or replacement, like, give me more color to that.
Most of the time, unless someone has just purchased a home, Vegas is such a saturated market, and if they have a unit that's over 12 to 15 years old, they've been told they need to replace it. A lot of times what you'll run into is when you get there, people are like, I know it's old and, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, my job is just make sure we ain't got no issues this summer. I don't expound upon anything that they've mentioned about age, condition, what anyone else has said or done.
So you're not trying to drive the knife deeper at that point. You're pulling back and be like, yo, my job, I'm just the maintenance guy.
And at the end of the day, that is my job. That is my job description, is to provide a service and provide a maintenance on the system. If there's anything I notice as I'm doing anything, I'll, of course, bring it to their attention, but I'm not doing it in a, hey, we need to replace this.
Yep.
So
from a financial standpoint, though, I mean, I'm assuming you're on performance pay.
I am, yes.
Yeah. And so performance really comes to, like, when you do an upgrade or sale or charge or whatnot, but you understand the psychology that, like, if you're just hounding that,
those days are gone. I've heard stories from people that have done this for a long time that, back in the day you could go in there and be like, hey, you need a new unit, and it's going to be $10,000. And they'd be like, all right, let's do it. Those days are gone. So it's all about how can I I look at it, this is kind of my analogy, the cartoon you see where there's like the valuable possession in the room,
Yeah.
and there's all the laser beams around it protecting it, and they're like bobbing and weaving to get to the item. That's kind of the customer's guard when you get to this call, and my job is to bob and weave the lasers to get to the end goal.
And you really do that by being the antithesis of a salesman, right? Like against what a typical, like what everybody in their mind has as a salesperson. Like, hey, this guy, all he wants is the deal. He's going to push this on me. He's going to immediately be like, hey, do this, that, or the other. And you're saying like, let me serve first. It's kind of like, you know, the example of Jesus even, right? Like serve first, and you're going to be able to have the greatest influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So you're going in, you're building value by cleaning this thing out. Are you taking pictures? What else are you doing to really gain trust of this customer?
I mean, I do everything. I mean, I've raked and blown leaves. I've cut palm fronds off the trees for them. I've helped them move stuff in the garage, whatever they need done. I intentionally buy extra 9-volt batteries in case they have a smoke detector that's chirping, and I'll change it, light bulbs, whatever the case may be. My goal is to make sure that whether or not they replace anything or I make $1 off of them, it's not the point for me. I sleep really good at night knowing that like I'm truly there to be helpful. And that's just, how I was raised, is to just be kind to people, and it works out really well.
And so what's like the average length? So you said 30, 45 minutes, but like how many of these are you doing a day?
Best case scenario, 4.
You run 4 of these?
Yeah, usually 3 to 4.
Okay. And the goal, are you wanting to spend 2 hours with them, an hour? Like what's kind of the time frame that you're hoping to be able to get this all done in?
Minimum hour and a half.
Okay.
I've spent 4 or 5 hours on a call with people, because once you've presented evidence and they've kind of come to the conclusion themselves, because that's where the market's at today, is it's not forceful. It has to be the customer's idea.
Right.
We have an extensive amount of training from the guy I was talking about, Brent, that talks about you have to make sure it's the customer's idea. That's the only way you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
And at that point, usually I'm pulling back once we've kind of.
So yeah, talk to me about that. Like up front, the customer's like, look, I know it's old and we probably need to replace it. How are you responding?
I'm like, I'm just here to clean it up. I don't, make sure we ain't gonna have no issues this summer. And I'm big on, I'll present evidence of something, and then I'll literally just turn my back to them and walk away. Like, all right, I'm gonna get back started out here. I don't, because I'm.
So you want them to stew on that. Like, hey, here's the evidence. There's clearly an issue, but I'm not going to be the one pounding in. I'm going to let you conclude that's
exactly
what's going on.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So once I've cleaned the system up, I have the fan motor and shroud leaned up against usually the house. I'll bring them out. I'm like, hey, you remember what it looked like before? I just want to show you what it looks like. Or I'll go in and be like, hey, can I borrow you for a second? And of course, they usually say yes. And I bring them out and I show them, and everyone's reaction is usually the same. Wow, that looks really good, and not. It's about what you say. So if I say, hey, I found your fan motor's leaking oil, well, that implies I was looking for something. So something that I've been taught is that when it's leaned up against the wall, they're looking at, hey, something else real quick. While I had this open, I noticed that your fan motor is leaking oil, and they're like, most of the time, if they care, they're, oh, wow, I'm like, yeah. And they're like, should I replace that? And I'm like, let me just finish running through everything. And it's all about.
So you're pulling back, because when they're suggesting, should I replace it? Instead of being like, yeah, you should, you're like, hold on, let me just, yeah. You're gaining a lot of, really what this is an authority close, right? You're gaining a lot of authority by being very knowledgeable and just building that confidence around like, hey, this guy isn't just here to push something on me.
Yeah. I have 2 really big mentors in this, Brent Buckley and Jimmy Rivera. Jimmy is, the dude is super technical. The only reason I have the information I have to be able to present to a homeowner is because he's taught me what to look for, how, what it implies. what its job is, and it's all about tying everything together. So I'm real big on, like, yes, I presented, they see the motor's leaking oil. I pull back, I continue running my maintenance. And then once I've gathered enough evidence to bring to them and show them, explain to them what's going on, depending on the personality type of the homeowner, I might bring them back out again. I might do multiple check-ins throughout the call instead of just one. It depends on how engaged they are. And some people aren't easily engaged. So you have to present more evidence to where they're like, okay, this is something I should care about.
Yeah. Love it. So you go through this whole process. What percentage of the time are you finding something wrong versus, hey, I was just able to do my quick maintenance and basically there's nothing to be able to sell?
When I first started, more often than not, when I very first started the company I was at, no one had taught me. It was primarily a plumbing company that had just kind of spawned off a little bit of an HVAC side of it. So, my maintenance process was get there, pull the disconnect, hose it down, check the capacitor, inrush amps, running amps, refrigerant levels, and see ya.
And were you getting paid performance pay at that point?
Yes. So
that was tough.
Yeah.
If basically you weren't able to find anything or really coached up on how to do it, right? You were making $0.
So I had started out as a install helper.
Okay.
Didn't make much money. I would do plumbing and HVAC installs. I got put on commission after almost a year at this company, and I was initially doing plumbing. I was selling plumbing, installing plumbing, and to me I had arrived. I was like, this is it, because I'd been so used to making $20 an hour. So when I kind of got into selling HVAC at this particular company, I was the only tech. Some stuff had transpired where the other two techs I worked with were no longer with us, and I needed stuff to install. So it was in July, and one of the guys had called off work, and the owner of the company was like, hey, Zach, can you just run these calls? And I sold $58,000 that day, and the other tech was like, oh, well, he got lucky. Well, then the other guy was supposed to be off. I was supposed to be off Sunday, Monday. He was working on a race car of his on Sunday and dropped a transmission on his hand, so he couldn't come into work Monday. So I was off Sunday, went back to work Monday, and sold like another $35,000. And then they were like, oh, okay. And it surprised me, but I wasn't there to sell them nothing. My intention was I need something to install. Yeah. It was July. System. It weren't maintenance calls. They were demand calls, no calls.
Yeah. And
that was kind of my introduction to the whole sales aspect of things.
Yep.
Very, very poor at it. Because, of course, like anybody that has no training, you get a taste of that commission, and then you go in full sales mode. And that's why I know what not to do, because I was the guy that...
So you were immediately like, hey, we need to get this replaced. It's going to be this much money.
No price conditioning involved.
And when you say price conditioning, I know what you're talking about, but for the audience, what do you mean price conditioning?
If you wait till the end of the call and you're presenting a $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 option to them, you could present a $500 option to them. It's going to be too expensive. It's too much money. It always is too much money. Of course it is. Right. So by price conditioning, it's done through stories for me.
So give us an example. Like, what's the story that you tell?
Well, my biggest thing is what I've been using lately is I bought a king size candy bar at a grocery store the other day, and it was $4 at a gas station rather. And
$4 for king size?
I'm used to $1.99, but
jeez, dude, I remember when growing up, for me, Snickers was 50 cents, king size was 75. That was pretty dope.
Yeah, and that was still
$4.
Yeah.
Goodness, I'm your perfect client.
Yeah, that's Vegas for you right there. No, but anything you look at anything in the last 10 years, what has been the same? So there's been a lot that's changed in our industry.
So are you telling the customer this? There's been a lot that changed in our industry, or what? Or are you just telling that story and then moving on?
It's not not withholding information, but it's just, it really is case dependent. I'm usually, that first 5-10 minutes of me running the call, I've done enough. I'm checking temperatures. I'm going throughout the home. I've found enough things that I've noticed that the homeowner is interested in that I can then utilize that on the back end as something that they're able to relate to and provide perspective on. Like if they have a new truck in the driveway or a newer car, I'm like, that's a beautiful truck. How much that truck cost you? Like 80-something thousand. There's usually some negative connotation with it. And I'm like, God, dog, that's expensive. I remember I paid like $20,000 for my truck, and I thought that was a lot. And then I get them to tell me about how much things have went up. It's like, perfect. Yeah.
Right. They're just selling themselves.
And I pull back, there's a right and a wrong way to do this. You can do it the wrong way and still be decent. But I have found the people that perform at the high levels are the ones that are able to adapt to the changing market, the changing economy, and are able to provide solutions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're going through and you're price conditioning them. So, and you've gone through your whole, like you've cleaned everything, you've done these type of things. And so back to my original question, I guess that got us here was, so when you first started, you would go in and you do these service calls or these maintenance calls and basically nothing to sell them. Okay. Yeah. So what's changed because you were able to identify actual issues, got better at being a tech? Like what changed?
All of the above. Mm-hmm. My career, the trajectory of my career really took off when I came over to Simply, which is the company I'm at now. The owners, Mike and Daryl, have a phenomenal culture at this company. It's a very technician-heavy company, meaning...
What does that mean?
Very technically sound.
Yep.
It's not some guys that just seen there was a bunch of money to be made in HVAC. When they first started the company, they were selling and installing their own stuff. The owners were, and they eventually grew it to where they didn't no longer have to do that. But when I came here and I met Brent and I met Jimmy, and they really poured a lot of time and effort into me because I showed up and I worked hard.
Nice. And
they seen that the information wouldn't be wasted.
Yeah.
And so I started to learn the dynamics of HVAC and how, with heat transfer and heat load on a home and how the system operates, refrigerants, et cetera. The way my brain operates is I'm easily able to connect things once I have an understanding of it. So, and then how can you put that in crayon for the homeowner? Because they're obviously not a technician.
Right.
So
are you able to, because you're doing 3 or 4 of these a day, are you able to identify something to present to them on 100% of the time?
Yeah. Now, whether or not they care is a different story.
Right.
Some people that, there's a saying, there's a reason why it's that old. You get a 30-year-old system and to the untrained eye, you're like, oh, heck yeah. But most of the time it's that old for a reason. But I've kind of adopted a mindset like, if we've been out there, we have a record of, we've been out there for, 4 years, no one sold them anything. I'm like, because they ain't had me out there yet.
Yeah.
And not to be arrogant or anything of that nature, but
you believe in yourself.
I do. Yeah. And I run a very, very, very tight process.
For sure.
That doesn't really falter between homeowners or calls. Are there little variables I change? Yes. But
so how would you, like in your mind, obviously you've got a process that's like step by step. How would you outline those step by step? Like when you say I follow a very tight process, explain it to the new technician that's starting. Like what process is that? So you've kind of explained a lot of like the big stuff. Like what are some things that are like non-negotiable that you follow?
Non-negotiable is I am communicating with that homeowner when I first get there, and it's usually not about anything air conditioning related. I am going to show them if they don't come out with me, if they're an elderly customer, they will see what it looked like before. So
pictures.
Okay. Very big on pictures.
So let me try to break this down for people that are watching. So we're talking rapport, and we're talking evidence.
Evidence, yes.
Okay.
And being of service. So
rapport, evidence, serve them, being a servant leader, someone
yes.
leading with that, like keeping them forefront in the mind rather than like, hey, how do I get their money? Yep.
So I've been guilty of it. I think anybody has been guilty of it that's been in this for any amount of time. If you focus on the process and not on the outcome, you will usually get your desired outcome. But if you jump the gun and you
Skip
any part of that, you have no one to blame but yourself when you're sitting in the truck with a zero.
Got it.
And that's kind of how I look at it, is that it's a 115-degree day. It's 140 in an attic. The last thing I want to go do is check your evaporator coil. It's hot. But if I don't check that coil and I'm sitting in my truck.
And for those that aren't technicians, where's that evaporator coil usually hanging out?
In the attic.
In the attic. In Vegas.
Not a fun place to be.
Not a fun place to be.
No.
Okay, so what does that look like? So this really goes into like that being of service and like bending over backwards and doing the extra mile. So,
and being disciplined.
Yep.
Because it's real easy to have irrefutable evidence on the condenser only, and it's a deal.
Yeah.
It's done. They know it needs to be replaced. But
But
if
you don't skip this step of getting into the attic, so you go up in the attic and what do?
Well, as soon as I open the attic, I run through everything in the attic. So I open the furnace, and I'm not deep diving it, checking inducer, motor, flame sensor, all that stuff, but I am for sure checking the control board and the blower motor. Control board's the brain of the whole operation. Blower motor puts all the air in the home, whether it's heating or cooling.
And are you bringing a vacuum with you?
I will bring a vacuum with me, yes.
Right off, or do you go back and get it?
So if I'm doing, it differs. So if I'm doing a cooling maintenance, I already have my vacuum with me.
Yep.
If I'm doing a heating maintenance, I do an initial evaluation of everything, and then I come down and let the homeowner know, like, hey, the unit's filthy. I'm going to go grab my vacuum for you and get this thing cleaned up.
And so you always follow that process?
Every time.
I love it.
Every time.
Very disciplined. So
yes.
Continue.
Once I'm done with the cooling portion, I'll get in the attic. The coil is part 2 of the air conditioner. It's responsible for absorbing all the heat from the home. It's welded into the condenser. It creates the refrigeration loop or the refrigeration cycle. So majority of the time you will find rust on an evaporator coil. The severity of that rust just depends on how dirty the coil's been, how maintained the system's been, but 100% you want to open that coil. I don't know how many times I didn't want to get in the attic and look at the coil, and reluctantly, I make myself follow that process, and I get up there and the coil's ruptured and there's oil all over the coil from the refrigerant. And I'm like, thank God I opened this up, because this
and followed my process.
Exactly. Because the person that gets the most consistent results is the most disciplined person.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we're really big on implementing where we work, is being disciplined, following the process, no matter what. Because it's real easy to get sucked into, these homeowners aren't stupid, and you run into some that are the guy that they go to the car dealership and they're like, I ain't leaving without the best deal. Well, they carry that into every aspect of their life. So they're they're showing you their neck to try to get you to go for the jugular, so they can, in their mind, know that you're the same way, the same person, that the last 10 companies that have been out here, you're no different.
Right.
So picture what those people do and do the opposite. And that's what's been kind of my success.
So, yeah, whenever they're saying, hey, try to sell me, you're like, no, pull back. And so you go through this process, you build rapport, you provide evidence, you are of service, and you go to great lengths to doing that, always making sure you follow the same exact process. How do you transition from that to a sale?
So once I've done my check-ins, and I provided evidence, we're big on like providing repair options. Now, what comes with that is also the way I was taught, the way that Jimmy taught me was like you explain to them, this is, 4 options is usually the best. Once you've provided, this is kind of like, we're all in, this is everything the system needs. The best preservation option, the next best and conservative, and then this is a must do. No matter what you're...
So 4 options of maintenance.
Of repairs, yes.
Of maintenance, repairs, not replace, right?
If you've done a good enough job, very rarely are you going to have any sort of a conversation about repairs? There's the 4 options is really good for the people that aren't able to necessarily, aren't effective communicators, that can't get the call where it needs to be. But if you're able to paint a picture while providing service and being trustworthy and providing evidence, pictures, videos, they know that any money they put in this thing is not good money.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that everyone goes with replacement? No, of course not. And that's what the 4 options are for.
And so when you present those 4 options of, these are 4 options of repair, not replacement, right?
Yes.
And so that's what you first bring to the table. And what does that range of price typically look like on that for a customer?
If you're going full regalia, and you can run up a $8,000-9,000 repair ticket, all the way down to the 4th option. You want to keep sub $1,000, because you want to make it attainable.
And have you addressed financing at this point, or have you held back on financing?
I don't. For me, providing any sort of financing solution until I feel the homeowner's kind of narrowed in on a solution, to me comes off as salesy.
Yep.
So I pull back on that. The amount of times that I've had all 4 options out, so sometimes you run a newer system and you're offering IAQ solutions. Maybe it's ductwork installation, UV light, inline filtration, like an April air cabinet. They like the best option. I just had one 2 weeks ago that was $5,600. And he's like, I like this one, but I'm gonna have to wait. And I was like, is it a timeline thing or like a money thing? And he was like, it's a money thing. He's a pool company owner. He's like, I'll get paid in a couple weeks from a job. I was like, we got 12 months, no interest. And he was like, oh, let's do it then. So.
And at that point, does your price already have the dealer fee built in?
Yes. So our pricing is structured to be able to have financing
already built in, so you don't have to add something on top. It's not a difference or whatnot.
Exactly.
Yeah, love it.
So
that's how I coach everybody to do it. So
it's
great.
It's better that way, because then you're not shortchanging the company. If the company wins, everybody wins. But if I'm out there winning, but the company's losing, I'm only going to win for so long before I don't have a company to work for.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what we teach business owners, that company first. Like, you've got to be company first, because if you can't take care of the company, you can't take care of the employees, and they can't take care of the employees, you can't take care of your customers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let me take care of me so I can better take care of you.
Yeah.
Because if I'm taking care of you more than I'm taking care of me, I'm going to eventually have nothing to pour out.
Yeah.
So assuming they don't want to go with a repair option, and they're like, well, what's it cost to replace this thing?
So are you waiting for that question, or are you providing that as an option?
No. So.
And with that, so if you're not doing that, a follow-up question, are you hammering home that, like, hey, we can do these maintenance, these are the 4 options? Are you making them aware that, like, man, this is like sunk costs? Like, or are you just doing that from a psychology standpoint? You're not actually talking about it.
Yeah. So I'm not directly telling them or really implying so much as I am being informative and letting them know, like, this is what it's going to cost. This is what kind of reliability and guarantee is associated with that.
Do you say, hey, I'm not sure how long this system has left if we do this, but we can do this?
Yeah, so I'll explain everything to them, how it all works, because I've educated them on what the fan motor's job is. I've explained to them the coil's job, the blower motor, whatever the case may be, contactor, capacitor. They know that when I'm there and we get to the end of it and I'm like, hey, we've got X, Y, and Z, let me put together some repair options, see if we can kick the can down the road, buy a little time, hopefully get us through the summer.
I like that phrase, right? Hey, let me put together some repair options to see if we can kick the can down there, right? Because that is a non-sales, but implies that, man, by putting money in, I'm just kicking the can. And I'm going to have to pay for this eventually. And so basically I'm sinking money into something that isn't a good investment.
Yeah. And I explain to homeowners, I'm like, look, I'm big on return on investment. I can't guarantee you what you get. And if depending on the personality type of the homeowner, I've told multiple people, I'm like, look, I'll be honest with you. Any money we put in this thing, you might as well grab it and put it in that trash can over there. Now, if that's the route you want to go, by all means, I'll band-aid thing up till the cows come home. I do not care. But I just want you to know what you're getting for your money and what kind of guarantee.
That is such a beautiful pullback. One of my favorite sales techniques is like, look, I don't need your money, right? And so that's essentially what you're doing with that same thing, right? Like, hey, look, I'm happy to get this thing band-aided up until the cows come home. I like that. That's definitely a Tennessee.
That's a Tennessee thing.
That's a Tennessee thing. I love it. That's beautiful. So you present them the options, but you're just like, look, I can't put my stamp of approval really on this, but I'll do it.
No.
If this is what you want, customer, I'm here to serve you, not vice versa.
No, I tell them, like, it's your home, it's your machine, your money. I'm indifferent either way. However, if I didn't explain to you the pros and cons of each thing and you went with a bunch of repairs and I seen you in the Albertsons parking lot, which is a grocery store, I wouldn't want to come say hi to you. And I truly do believe that. Like, I don't, if I see any homeowner, or I go back, there's not a single homeowner that has purchased a system from us that I am afraid to run another call at their home. Now, do I want to go sometimes if they're like a spaz or talk your head off, not particularly, but I'll go back to any homeowner I've already been to and be able to look them in the eyes because I did right by them.
Speaking of which, so your repairs, like just from a technical standpoint, how long do you guys guarantee a repair, or do you guarantee a repair?
It's a 1 year on that particular part. And so that's another thing. If they start wanting to go the repair route, I'm like, yeah, sure, by all means, we've got 3 items in question here, right? I can warranty it for a year. I can't warranty the overall functionality of the system just due to its overall age.
I can only warranty this particular
part, yes.
Yeah. Which is another just like, hey, look, I'll do it, but...
And it's the truth.
Yeah,
it's not a lie. It's not, but it's also implicative of like, hey, anything we put into this is not...
Right. And frankly, the best salespeople are the most honest salespeople and understand their product and why it appeals to the customer. And so, like, some people may think like, oh, this is a sleazy technique, but it's not. It's the truth. I can only warranty this part. If you want me to go and repair this part, that's all I can cover. And it would be dumb business to do anything else.
Yeah.
Right? I can't warranty a 20-year-old system where you want me to replace this one part.
Yeah, it's like, all right, you got an old Ford Pinto with 300,000 miles on it, and someone brings it into your shop. Like, are you're gonna change out an alternator and some struts and be like, I'll warranty this motor ain't gonna go out on you. Rod's not gonna start knocking or nothing within the next 2 years. No, that's ignorant. That's
right.
I don't think that there's anything wrong with explaining options.
Yep.
As long as you're indifferent with it, whatever choice they decide to go with, it truly is none of my business. I'm not going to be thinking about it that night. All I care about is that I do a good job, was honest. Whatever route they decide to go, it truly is their home. It's their money. No matter what I advise against, I've had homeowners want to Band-Aid up a 20-something-year-old system.
Yep.
All right, sign here, and I will put in the disclosure in the invoice that they get a copy of that I can no way guarantee the overall functionality of this system, but I can warranty this part. So if I put in a condenser fan motor and it goes out in 8 months, I'm going to warranty the part.
Right.
Your compressor craps the bed. I'm not warranting your compressor.
Right.
So. No,
I love it. So by presenting those options for repair, naturally they're like, what does it look like to replace? And is that when you bring it to them, or are you flipping it to somebody, or how do you typically go about that?
So Jimmy, the guy I was speaking about earlier, is we refer to him as a project manager because he does the designing of all the systems, financing, etc. Might know him as a comfort advisor, sales guy, whatever title you want to put on it. It's the same job. At that point, when they're asking, well, how much is it to replace it? That's where experience level and your ability to effectively communicate things comes into play, because there's a lot of guys that you just shut up right there and you call your project manager out. I've had Jimmy out enough times where I could quote his entire, we have conversations and he's like, I hear, that sounds familiar. It's almost like you heard that from me or something, But, I tell people, because our pricing is not the same as everyone else's, but I will tell people, like, you can get Joe Blow with a magnet on his truck, no permits or inspections to probably do this for $13,000-14,000. You can find a big corporate billboard company with a whole bunch of advertising and do it for $35,000-40,000. We're not corporate, we're still family owned, but we're not working out of our garage either. And they understand that there's, options there. And then I'm like, let me do this. Do you got a minute? Let me call my project manager real quick. He's the guy that designs all this. We need to get something figured out. And they're like, yeah. If you've done a good job, they're like, yeah. Jimmy comes in, we make introductions.
So does Jimmy come physically to the location, or is he doing it over the phone?
Majority of the time he comes to the location.
Okay. And so you're waiting how long?
I share my location with Jimmy. We both have iPhones. There's a few people on our team underneath Jimmy. Jimmy follows me around, so usually he's not far. I know wherever I'm at, and I'll call him back. Hey, he knows if I say, hey, Jimmy, it's Zach. This is about business. I'm not just calling to give him a rundown of the call. And he'd be like, hey, what can I do for you? And I'm like, hey, are you still, I was off of College, which is an exit off in Henderson.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, are you still in the wagon wheel area, which is 2 exits down? Like, yeah. I'm like, hey, I explained to him what's going on. Could you come by and possibly give us a hand with this? And he knows. So I'm like, hey, he's finishing up some paperwork. He'll be here shortly. And that's how we approach it. And
nice.
But he knows, because I've touched base with him also. I've done check-ins with him throughout the process and letting him know, like, hey, this could or couldn't,
Yeah. Love it. So then flips it over, shows them the options. Then now you're closing. Mm-hmm. And typically those are finance deals. From this, what is your close rate on getting a ticket?
With Jimmy?
No, just in general.
I'd say probably 45-50% of the time it's gonna.
You're flipping it?
It's gonna go somewhere, yeah.
What about as far as a repair?
If you've ran your process correctly, you can usually get something on every call.
So you're close. You're close to 100% collections.
Most of the time, yeah. There's going to be times where there's just nothing there. But even then, if you really push for it, you can get a coil clean, you can get a service agreement, something. That's what we've been focused on.
Coil clean, service agreement. What does that run a customer?
About $490.
Mm-hmm. And you're doing that?
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing that for him,
mm-hmm.
which is what? How?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. So you're doing it after the fact, after you
mm-hmm.
present it to him. Like, that's last ditch effort. Like, I got to get some money for being out here.
I just had that the other day where they had home warranty. High voltage was burning in the disconnect. I explained to him why. My home warranty's Superman. He's going to save it. Home warranty's a scam. They're not going to touch that. But I'll touch on it a few times. I'm not going to have a flat out argument with somebody. And so when they have a home warranty, the biggest thing is maintenance. Home warranty they're not responsible for maintenance. You are.
Right.
So I fall back on maintenance related items, keeping the coil clean, doing a blower wheel cleaning, IAQ, UV light, April air, whatever the case may be.
Right.
So they were dead set on their home warranty, weren't going to do nothing. And I was fixing to leave, and I was like, well, you got to at least let me clean the evaporator cool. Like, this thing's filthy. And it was. And they were like, well, I think home warranty do that. I'm like, no, you're contractually obligated to at least maintain the system. If you're going to call them out for this high voltage, by all means, be my guest. But if they open the system up and see that coil is going to be dirty like that, it's impeded airflow, it's caused a lot of extra wear and tear on the system, they ride a gray area. So they're going to say, well, this caused this, and we're not covering this. So if you want to get this covered, or at least best chance, I got to clean it up. And
that was $490.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like $496, I think it was, for the service agreement.
Most of those people are paying cash for that.
Yeah.
Swipe it on a card.
Yeah.
Here you go.
I try not to, just due to dealer fees, try not to finance anything under a couple grand. Can I? Yeah. I don't usually go that route.
Right. But do you typically have a dealer fee baked in there just in case?
Yes.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, all of our pricing has that implemented in it.
Yeah, very, very smart. So I mean, you're getting something most of the time, or you're flipping about 50%?
I'd say 50. I would have to look at the numbers. Try to flip at least one call a day.
One out of three, 1 out of 4.
Yeah.
And on a flip, what's the close rate on that?
With me and Jimmy, probably 75, 80%.
75, 80.
Yeah, Jimmy is the reason we work so well together is because he taught me, so I modeled myself after him. But he's also very kind, very cordial, very well spoken, very informative, not salesy, not I'm here to beat you over the head.
Right.
Very indifferent on how things are or the outcome. The dude has forgot more about HVAC than probably most people will learn. So the way he's able to present his options, very, very, very rarely are we getting a kind of builder grader base model system. It's usually high efficiency.
So, interesting question about Jimmy for the people that are watching. So, you're driving a van. Is he coming up in a van? Is he coming up in a company car?
He has a Chevy Colorado.
Okay.
A little 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
Chevy Colorado.
So, looks a little bit different. He's more of the manager type, right? Coming in, the authority, like, oh, man, yeah, project manager. Is that what you guys call him?
Exactly, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. I'm not going to be like, let me get my sales guy out here. You know, they're like immediate red flag.
Yeah.
But I can say that with a straight face because Jimmy isn't, like, yes, he is in charge. I mean, here we go with technicalities, but yes, he's technically a sales guy, but he's not.
Right. And does he have other techs that he's servicing as well, or is it just you?
There's me, Doug, and Adrian, and another guy named Gasper that are on our team.
So how does he, from a logistics standpoint, if he's following you around or whatnot, someone else has a job at the same time, how do you guys manage that?
Depending on looking at the calls on the board in the morning, which calls are opportunity calls or more likely to be an opportunity call. If, say, me and Adrian have equal opportunity calls, then he'll stage up somewhere in the middle, and it's first come, first serve.
Right.
We have other sales guys at the company that 2 other teams that, if need be, can swing in and
come
take
in
care
service.
of it.
Got it. Cool. I think, for somebody that's watching this for the first time, considering getting into trades, considering being a tech or a sales tech or, involved in HVAC, like what you've shared is like extremely valuable. So you shared what not to do. What would you say is the most important thing while being that led to you doing 4.1 million last year?
Trusting God. I don't know how many times I was on a call and I'm sitting there on the catwalk in the attic or looking at the condenser and there's a lot going on and I'm like, God, just give me the right words to say. And I'll come there and I'll say some stuff and I'm like, wow, that was definitely not me that said that. For me, and everyone I work with knows this, like it begins and ends with God for me.
I love that.
All of my success is only because of him.
Yeah.
It is nothing I've done. I show up and I don't really do that the best half the time, but
I love that. I'm a firm believer that God is involved in every fabric of our lives, whether it's our physical, economic, our associations, or our spiritual side, right? Like he wants us to win across the board. And it is interesting, right? Like what you're talking about, that like revelation can really come to you and you're like, whoa, those words weren't mine, you know? Like even whether it's sales, whether it's communicating with your spouse or whatnot. And so, yeah.
Every facet of your life, he just wants a relationship with you. So think of it like this, like if you have kids, how much you love your children.
Yeah.
I'm a flawed human being. I'm far from perfect. God is perfect, and God is everything or God is nothing, because by definition, God must be everything. So if I love my daughters as much as I do, and I'm a flawed human being, how much does he love me and want to see me succeed and be happy? But there's a trade-off there. He wants a relationship with you. He wants you to not be ashamed of him. He wants you to be honest, and he wants you to work hard. God worked 6 days a week. He built everything in 6 days, and he rested on the 7th. So if he doesn't want you to be lazy, don't let your hands be slack. Proverbs talks about that a lot. So you can ask God for a ditch, and when he gives you a shovel, you can't get mad.
Yeah.
You got to dig the ditch. So
appreciate you sharing your faith. It's so important to me. And thanks for just sharing all your incredible knowledge. Thanks for coming, Zach.